Airotseimse atsei, naitsavese ermonim. Embracing my unique design. I found my sound embracing my flaws and insecurities. Let me show you how this changed my life. Ever since I can remember, I've struggled with anxious and repetitive thoughts. Thoughts like patterns that I had to follow, or else in my mind, something bad would happen to my family members. Pretty strange, right? So, I developed these tics that would take over for the majority of my childhood, adolescence, and even present days. As I got older, I realized that they all somehow connected. From repeating a word countless times, switching it over and counting it again, and stepping on the cracks, avoiding the cracks, actually. I'm pretty sure we've all done that somehow, at some point. And even speaking backwards, as you heard from the first bit of the talk, I was speaking backwards. Growing up, I had excessive energy, so much that I would have these energy bursts here and there. School was a bit tough because I had so much energy that I couldn't sit down. I had to stand up doing all my assignments, So art class was always my favorite because I would never get in trouble for painting standing up or practice my drumming skills with a number 2 pencil. I always had to be involved in some sort of bodily movement. So I joined band, dance classes, soccer, gymnastics, swimming, all the extracurricular activities you can think of that involve the use of my legs and my arms. But I always had a unique and genuine love for music. My parents always supported this energetic brain of mine and somehow knew that this would become my long life dream, a musician. This beautiful career I call mine. And I recall the first time I ever played piano. I was about 6 years old with a family friend. He would give me treats every time I played a chord right. So imagine giving a 6-year-old a sugar cookie every time he played a C chord right. That's a lot of energy for a little kid. But I really think my genuine love for music grew when I was about 12 or 13 years old, when I was growing up. This is the era I like to call the free time era. I was about middle school and high school period. And this is the era where my dad bought my brother and I our first guitars. Back then, I also struggled with my height, so I looked like a mariachi because the guitar was so big. I was like 4'9", so. Why do I call it the era of free time? Because I had so much free time, I would get home after a long day of working at school, and I would sit in my room and I would lock myself and I'd be like, okay, what can I do? Because I have so many tics, I have so many things that are making me anxious. How am I going to be able to channel all these anxious thoughts and energy bursts into something that can make me feel good as a teenager? So I would pop my computer open and I watched countless hours of YouTube videos, of tutorials. And so I learned how to play a lot of pop songs growing up, like this one. That was the first song I ever learned how to play in piano, and I would show it off to all my friends. And it'd take me a couple of weeks to learn the next one. At times it felt like a burden though, because I had so much energy, and I was afraid of judgment from my friends. As growing up, you have these things that you kind of set aside so that people don't see. And these tics were the things that I would hide from people, and even my family members. So I would exile myself, and I would try to avoid any social encounters while I was, encountering these tics. Music was the way I could channel these thoughts, and even though it felt like a burden sometimes, that channel made me realize that it was much more important than just collaborating with my inner self. Now, where am I getting to all of this? I had the blessing that my childhood had such impactful moments growing up that led me to discover how to channel all these repetitive and anxious thoughts into something as abstract and pure as music. And eventually led me to find my own sound. Now, what is sound? It can mean many things, but to me, sound is everything that's a part of me. All the things that belong to me, like every move I make, every breath, every tick that I have. If you saw sound the way I'm explaining it, can we all agree that we all have a different sound? Yes? Yes? Yes, good. You guys are here. That is what makes us unique. That sound that we produce, each one of us. We produce a unique sound because of the way we were made. We were created intentionally and passionately. I'm a strong believer that there are no accidents. We're not just a bunch of, floating beings on this universe. I think it's much greater than that and more significant. We were created, we were handcrafted in such a beautiful way. So that is our uniqueness inside of us. But it also depends on how we choose to embrace that uniqueness that is given to us. I love that word, unique. Based on the Oxford Living Dictionary, the raw definition of unique is being the only one of its kind, unlike anything else. That uniqueness is our sound. Now, I'm not the only one who has overcome insecurities or has surpassed, certain roadblocks from my childhood or present days. There are many people that have influenced this earth and left an impact, left a footprint for the coming generations. People who have definitely and certainly found their sound and also embraced their unique design. Ed Sheeran, one of my favorite artists of all time, also turns out to be one of my biggest inspirations. He spoke publicly about struggling with stuttering at a young age. He said that we had to embrace our weirdness. And the reason he had this stuttering is because he had a surgery, and it didn't go well. So he struggled with this, and the way he could cope with it was through music, through rap music, actually. He listened to Eminem. Pretty interesting combination, hey? And that's one of his biggest influences to make music nowadays. It's pretty beautiful. Frida Kahlo, one of the most incredible painters of all time from the 20th century. She had so many pain-enduring situations and scenarios in her life, not just physical, but emotional. So she grabbed all this pain that she had inside of her, and she created art. Imagine using all the things that have happened in your life and create it into something as transcendental. Is that the word? Well, yeah, as enduring, spiritual. Let's change the word. As art. It's amazing. It blows my mind. Visual artist and creator of the viral Before I Die series, Candy Chang. She found a way to use her personal experiences and her emotional being as a canvas to connect people into a random space. It makes me emotional because it's the art that she's exposing to the world. She used the word vulnerability as her core to connect random people into a single space. It's amazing. Now, we're talking a lot about artists here. Artists, music, visual artists, painters. Well, let's get real for a second. I believe everyone's an artist. Art is not just, playing nice chords or painting. It's much broader than that. It's any form of expression where we feel comfortable with ourselves. Maybe you're a good father. That's your art. Perhaps you're a great advice giver. That's your art. And it's so subjective because it all really depends on your personal experience. Any form of inspiration translated into a single moment. Now, this is the part where in my notes, I labeled as deep, the deep talk. Wow, that's so deep. But it's fairly easy, it's very simple, I believe we all have ways of coping with our insecurities. And as I said before, we all have these things about ourselves that we keep, locked in the door. And we keep the key in our pocket so that no one sees it. Only we see it. When we're locked in our room and we're thinking about these things. And we are not so different, you and I. I believe we all have different struggles, but we connect. And the way we connect is through our genuine sound, you know? And yeah, this part of the talk is very just about me explaining how if you're here right now listening to me or watching at home, know that you're not alone. And these insecurities and these flaws are just going to be a catapult to see a better version of yourself. Never did I imagine that I would be standing here, you know, in this big red dot talking about insecurities of mine, you know. It's becoming hard to breathe while I talk about these things because they're so recent. I'm only 22 years old. However, I believe every experience that you collect creates a landmark in your life. And whatever that landmark leaves, you either feel like you wanted something or you learned. You never actually lose, you know, like the saying goes. So there's something really unimaginably beautiful and special about living. But it also depends on how we choose to embrace these things, you know, that design from the Creator, you know, it's beautiful and it's a process like everything else in life. But it's there and it's present for us. So again, I never imagined I'd be here talking so publicly about something that has felt like a pain in my back. So this is a release for me. It's merely spiritual, you know. So let me ask you guys a question. What are those tics in your life that you might hate about yourself right now, but eventually can become the sound that you can only produce? Let me give you a quick disclaimer, you know. There are things we have to accept about ourselves. There are things we have to work on, and there are things we have to embrace. For example, I had to accept the fact that growing up, I was born in Costa Rica. The cultural context was very different. I was reaching for that, you know, American lifestyle in the United States. I always saw these movies about the high schoolers and all the clubs and the people becoming huge musicians. And I was like, wow, I want to be that. But growing up, I had to accept that I lived in a smaller country. I had to embrace the fact that I have these tics. And they're not going away. So I either let them get the best of me or I work with them. And I also had to work on my discipline. Accept the fact that I'm very distracted. I'm very distracted right now, actually, to be honest. But I had to work on my discipline. And music was my channel. But then again, to you, it can be something different. It can be anything. This is how I embrace my uniqueness and the sound that it produces. I wonder, if you embrace your unique design, what would be your sound? I don't know. That's up to you to figure out. And you don't have to answer that question right now. It's a process, like anything else in life. But let me tell you something. The journey never stops. It never really does. So now I'm going to play you one of my original songs. It's called So Long. So let's get you guys involved. I feel like, you know, you've been there the whole time. So I want you guys to let's snap. So let's see. Let's find a cool tempo. Yeah. Yeah. You have to work on that tempo, it's okay. Sometimes I wake up late at night and I think about my life, deep thoughts and wondering what is happening and what might. There it is. Honestly, I believe no one really knows. All I'm really sure of life is that if we seek the truth behind every broken smile, shed a light, no one sleeping on the dark cloud. Baby, some days fall back behind. But every breath is a chance to make it right. Yeah, and I say so long to myself from yesterday, so long to the past. Whatever it takes, don't let go. Yeah. Ooh. So long to myself from yesterday. So long to the past and what they say. So long to the worries and the pain. Yeah. So long to myself from yesterday. So long to the past and what they say. So long to the worries and the pain. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to keep snapping, it's cool. Ooh, so yeah. This. Thank you. This is my sound. What's yours? Thank you.